Hi, Dr. Annie here from Collaborating Docs. Really excited to bring you this special video. Today we're doing an interview. We're meeting Mike Antozzi from MyAdvice. MyAdvice is a premium platform for medical practices looking for marketing help of all sorts. They have everything covered when it comes to marketing, and they do a really, really good job. They have a great track record, long-standing support that is very impressive. So really excited to dive in and talk to Mike a bit more about what his team does. So Mike, can you just tell us a little more about your business, like when you guys got started and what kind of services you offer?
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Yan. I appreciate it. So MyAdvice, we really specialize. When people ask what we do, we specialize in really helping practices grow revenue, really with your digital strategy. And there's a lot of components to really what we do on that front. Give you a little bit of background on us, though. We got started back in 1998. And to be honest with you, we've actually been really connecting doctors with patients through Google, even before Google was really a thing, to be honest. Originally, we got started in what we called the directory business. And so before Google was really the thing that drove search and visibility, we actually owned a few website assets that doctors would register their businesses through, practitioners would, just to get patients into the door. We kind of then pivoted to being more of an agency model when Google really became more of the driver of visibility. So developing websites, specializing in doing SEO and things of that nature. And while that really has not changed, we've also become much more software focused as well too, because practitioners need tools to really grow their strategy in ways that really will help to fit them. And so really with where we're at today, we're a bit of a hybrid between being service as well as software oriented, but really only focusing on serving healthcare practitioners. We serve about 2,500 practices all throughout the United States, a lot that are NP-owned businesses as well too. That's obviously why we're here. So yeah, very, very excited. We really can start to work with a practice that's very brand new, very embryonic, might not have much of a direction, and grow with them. I like to tell people we are very much a partner in your growth. We're not a vendor in your growth. There's a big, big, big difference between those two.
I like the way of looking at it. Yeah, I can't say enough how essential marketing is. All day long, I'm talking to nurse practitioners, our whole team is, who are entrepreneurs trying to get things going, and a lot of frustration around, I don't have enough patients, no one's coming in the door, what am I going to do? So, partnering with MyAdvice, it could be just, it would be the pivotal moment, or the pivotal decision, I should say, to like really get your practice into gear. Do you meet a lot of people like that, Mike, that like they're just starting out, they don't have enough clients, and then it really skyrockets from there, hopefully?
Totally. Especially even since the pandemic as well too, we've seen a lot of nurse practitioners really shift and pivot to saying, I want to do this now on my own. I'm tired of the system, the healthcare system. Maybe I'm burnt out from that, but I really want to start to now take my own bull by the horns to really grow. But I also hear in the same vein as well too, I love taking care of patients. That's what I do. I don't know much about this business stuff. And that's really where we come in with really focusing on, driving patients to the door, getting the phone to ring. And there's also a lot of components that really constitutes that. One of the common things that I see, especially with new businesses, is they might post a ton on social media and they might have kind of a rudimentary website, and that's kind of it. There is very much a process and a protocol that you have to really follow when you want to drive revenue in ways that are going to produce a good return on investment, but also streamline and lower your marketing expenditure. Because the last thing you also don't want to find yourself in a position of is having to have a gluttonous overhead of marketing spend that's not producing as efficiently. So we actually have a protocol that we've developed with really over our 20 years of doing this, called our pyramid of success. And when we work with our practices and our practice owners, we really do provide a framework and a playbook, if you will, that teaches you the right way of really building out your web strategy. We facilitate and offer all these tools as well as strategies, but we really work to grow with you, which is why I mentioned earlier, is that's where the partnership aspect comes into play. And I've seen many, NP-owned practices that, might be, renting out space in, from a friend's practice or whatever that might be, and growing with them to have their own location, growing with them to then open up their next location, whatever that might be. And so it's a journey that I love to see in terms of seeing the success of our clients grow and have the opportunity to really, ride along with them in that.
That's so, yeah, I bet it's very gratifying to see, how much you're really helping nurse practitioners and other medical providers like take it to that next level and like really find success. And I know you help all types of practices, but do you want to speak to that a little bit, like the scopes the types of practices you currently help? I know you have a million clients, but what can you help with?
Really.
Who can you help?
I mean, so what I would simply say is that when you are trying to drive patients on a localized level, we can help you. I work with a lot of NP-owned aesthetics practices. I work with a lot of NP-owned primary care practices, NP-owned regenerative medicine practices. It really doesn't matter if your model is cash-based or if you just tend to rely a little bit more on insurance. If there's an appetite of really looking to really grow your presence, to get more people into your door, that's really who we serve.
That's great. All right. What would you say? There are lots of marketing agencies out there and people who are, willing to help with this, but I mean, you guys have a very long track record for one, but what else sets you apart, do you think, from others in this area?
Well, I'll go back to what I had mentioned about partner, and being a partner, not a vendor, is a really, really big difference because again, we're here to really grow with you over the course of time, and a lot of our modeling of how we have really constructed a framework of our strategy really reflects that. In this space, especially when you are specialized in doing healthcare digital marketing strategies, there tends to be a very high uh, monthly price point, if you will, for a company to really start to work with a practice. So they might say, well, yeah, our prices start off at say, $1,500, $2,000, or maybe it's going to cost, $8,000 to get a website created, whatever that might be. And so what we then find is that a lot of practitioners, they'll say, well, I'll wait until I get a little bit bigger to, maybe work with some of those companies, which is the wrong approach because you have your business now, you need to grow it now. So we have a very, I would say, very palatable price point. We work with even some practices starting off as low as say $300 on a monthly basis, and we'll really fortify a ton of value within that and then grow with them. So where a practitioner might start off with a very smaller incubator kind of package that we put together, we fortify some of these things to help you to grow revenue now. And so as a practice will then grow and increase lead flow or revenue generation, they can add more into their strategy. So we very much take a scalable approach that a lot of our practitioners that we work with really, really find that's going to work well for them. Which is, again, why we say, we want to grow with you over the course of time. As a matter of fact, the average client that we serve is a client of ours for 8 years. Generally, if people are leaving, it's just because there might be a big transition at the practice. Maybe they're selling off to private equity or something to that effect. But our clients get a ton of value and a ton of coaching and guidance along the way.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love that you guys serve as that like trusted advisor for the long haul. And I can't speak highly enough. All of our clients out there watching this, please reach out to Mike. Actually, Mike, what is the best way just to go to MyAdvice website or to get a hold of you? What would you prefer?
Sure, absolutely. So to get, welcome to see myadvice.com. But especially if you're watching this video, I would love to be able to obviously, get to work with you on a one-to-one basis. And so actually, if you head to my Instagram and just search michael.myadvice, there's actually a link that you can book directly a meeting with me on my calendar. So again, if you're watching this and if you're just not having a lot of good guidance, or if you feel like your practice is kind of in that rut with lead growth and you're not seeing enough patients into the door, I would encourage you to book some time to be able to connect with me. And the last thing I'll also say as well too is that oftentimes folks will delay having a conversation because of a perceived sense of, oh, this is going to be very, very expensive. Guys, I would encourage you to maybe not look at the world that way. You want to have a growth mindset. Even if you feel like something is going to be more costly, that should not prohibit you from making the investment into at least knowledge now. And we're here to really work with you when the timing is appropriate, but at the very least, you want to make sure that you're in the right winning position and have a partner that's really going to guide you in that right way.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That mindset is everything, or can be everything. So yes. Well, thank you, Mike. This has been great. Reach out to Mike through his Instagram or the website, and you're going to get a lot of help from MyAdvice. So thanks, Mike. We'll see
Of
you
course.
soon.
Hope to see you guys soon.
Bye.